didn't say it would be easy. I just said it would be the truth.
We weren't born quiet. We were trained to be. We definitely weren't born quiet. Usually the first thing we do is we start yelling and screaming. But, as we get older, we're definitely trained to be quiet. Fear, shame, feeling guilty. We find it safer to just don't say anything, to be quiet, And then as you get a little bit older, it's the fear of not being believed. And this falls right into what we're talking about right here about narcissistic abuse, the fear of not being believed, and the illusion of keeping the peace. As you get older, you start to think, I'll just keep the peace, especially with relationships, whether they be romantic or friendships or even co-workers. Sometimes we default to, I'm just going to keep the peace. I'm not going to say anything about this. I don't feel like the stress. It's Friday. I get off of work soon. Why would I open up that can of worms? So through the years, we've definitely been conditioned to be silent, especially about things that we feel strongly about. And I'm going to tell you, this plays directly into the narcissist playbook, okay? Because they need your silence. They need you not to tell anyone what's going on. And they prey on the fact, this is why they do the whole data collection thing in the beginning. They want to find out about your childhood. They want to find out things about you, things that you feel guilty about, things that, you've never told anybody about, because they want to test just that litmus of, is my victim going to stay silent? Or is this something I need to worry about? The illusion of keeping the peace by staying silent really doesn't work. It really doesn't. And I've come to understand in this life that sometimes you just need to speak out. Right now, I am speaking out all over the place because I feel that by us staying silent, when we find ourselves in these toxic, narcissistic relationships, it doesn't help our cause at all. Yes, what you're going through is real. I'm never going to take that away from you. You know exactly what you're going through is real. Your nervous system is telling you that it's real, but you find that you can't tell anyone. And the system doesn't work. It doesn't want to help. The system tends to believe the victim, the abuser is the victim because they're playing victim, instead of the person that's actually abused, especially if you're a man, especially if you're black or brown. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody cares. And they kind of tell you need to stay silent about this. You need not to say anything about this. In our communities, we find that, males are just told, suck it up, deal with it. So what? You caught a bad seed, just move on with your life. But that doesn't take away the pain, and I think when we get to the next part, we're going to talk about why it's important that you actually speak out. You actually let people know. Stop going to the damn parties and gatherings and cookouts with this fake smile on your face, knowing damn good and well that you're going through something that is tearing your very soul apart. This is where silence begins to hurt.
But you already know what I'm going to tell you.
So I get it. Staying silent probably was a survival tactic. It's gotten you through a lot of stuff in your younger years, but this might actually be the one thing that is keeping you from healing. Because when you live with a narcissist, truth becomes a liability. See, they don't want you to expose who they are. They want you to stay silent. They want to have the ability to constantly, consistently abuse you, and you tell no one. Again, that whole data mining thing that they do at the beginning. They know your weak points. They know the things that you might stay silent about. They know that you want to keep your reputation. You don't want to be seen as weak. You don't want to definitely be seen as stupid. How did you let this person come into your life and disrupt everything that you believed in? And at the same time, the narcissist is going out of their way. They're separating you from your friends, your family, your support group, okay? Because they cannot take the chance that they will be exposed for the evil, horrible person that they are. Not even for the fact that they're evil and horrible, for how they are treating you. They don't want that to come out. Okay, so when you find out that you're in a narcissistic relationship, that usually starts the first crack in their mask. Okay, and they do what they consider to be damage control. They're going to smear the hell out of your name. Okay, they will go to your job. They will tell your boss. They will tell your family. They will tell their family. They will tell your friends that you have together. They will tell everybody that you're the worst person in the world. And they usually start the smear campaign off very early before the discard stage. Okay, and what happens is you can't run real damage control. Okay, because they've already planted the seeds in these people's heads. Okay, and then when they go full blast, everybody's looking at you like, oh God, you're that person. And then when you start speaking out, it's usually too late because they planted the seeds. They're just sitting back looking at you saying, yeah, you can't stop this shit. It is sailed out of port already. Everybody thinks that you're a piece of shit person, and we find ourselves conflicted. We don't know what to do. Our reputation is going down the drain. Family and friends are looking at us like we're crazy. And the reason being is because the narcissist plays their game very, very well. They played it to the T. They kept you silent. And that's what I'm doing with the whole Fractured Bonds, No More Chains movement, is I'm trying to get people to stop putting on a mask when you're out in public. Okay, when you're amongst your friends and your friends are asking because they can see it, because your nervous system is actually reflecting that you're in distress, you're always anxious. When they ask you is something wrong, maybe you should tell them. Maybe you should tell them, I don't know what to do. My partner is just driving me crazy. There's nothing I can do right. I feel insane. They're lying to me all the time. They're twisting the truth. You need to say something. And that is the first stage to healing. Putting reality on what is really going on in your life right now. Like I said, the narcissist depends on this. Their very existence hinges on the fact that you're not going to say anything until it's too late. And then you find yourself, it makes you feel even worse because by the time you figure out that there's a smear campaign going on, by the time you start to figure out like, oh my God, my partner is making me look like a piece of doo-doo on a stick, by the time you figure it out, now all you're doing is you're trying to prove yourself. And how does that make you feel? That makes you feel even worse. Because now you're trying to validate the reality that you know is happening. You're trying to tell people, no, this person is lying. This is not, I'm not the abuser, I'm actually the victim. I put up with this. And people are just going to look at you and they're going to say, well, why didn't you say something sooner? See, people don't understand what it's like to be trapped in a narcissistic relationship unless they have actually experienced it. The normal human being will just give you advice that's not going to help you. Okay, it's not going to help you heal. It's not going to help you get through it. It's not going to help you figure out your next move because they're basing it, their advice is based on real world relationships. You, my good person, are not in a real world relationship. You are tied literally to a demon. Okay, that their only goal is to destroy you. That's all they want to do. Destroy you so that they can make themselves feel better. So that way they can take that emptiness inside of them, okay, and just fill it up with, oh, you know what? I am indeed very great because, hey, I wouldn't have been able to break this person. Look what this person brought to the table. Look what this person had going on in their life, and I completely destroyed them. Now I can move on to the next victim. If you want to heal, and I can't tell you what to do. I can't lay it out any simpler. If you want to heal, when those that are close to you are trying to support you because they can sense something is wrong, tell them that something is wrong. If you feel that you need to go to a therapist, go to a therapist and tell them something is wrong. Because I'm going to tell you something. The narcissist really doesn't care about your nervous system. They don't care about your mental health. They don't care about you feeling good. that has never been their goal. They want to psychologically break you so that they can feel better about themselves. You know, I go through it constantly, where now I speak my truth. I've gotten ahead of the ship. I speak my truth. Now the narcissist that used to abuse me now needs to show and prove that, hey, listen, I was the victim. No, you've got to prove that, because what this person is saying kind of contradicts that. You know, so yeah, if you get ahead of it, you know, the smear campaign is not as bad. And I'm going to tell you something, in all honesty, you know, there's this thing that goes around on the internet that says, you know, if you believe lies about me, you always want to believe lies about me. And to a certain extent, that's true. But the narcissist doesn't play fair. You know, like I said, they will, if you have a business, they will try to destroy it. If you have a good job, they'll try to destroy it. They'll try to destroy your relationship with friends, family, and even your children. You know, so telling the truth about what you're going through is literally the first step towards your healing. Believe it or not.
You think it was just a bad relationship, but it wasn't just that. It was a soul theft. Narcissistic abuse leaves scars no one else can see, and sometimes the hardest thing to do is name what really happened. No More Chains is an unfiltered, soul-level audiobook for survivors who are done pretending it didn't happen. For those ready to turn silence into clarity and pain into power. If you're still questioning what they did to you, if you're still trying to figure out who you were before they broke you, start here. The audiobook is free, because your healing should never be a luxury. Your freedom isn't up for sale. It starts with truth. Download No More Chains today. Link in bio. Share it. Live it. Break free from the chains.
You know that road. You know exactly where it ends. And I know that's not where you want to be.
So, you know what, I kind of get it. If someone is out there actively trying to destroy your name, destroy your reputation, sometimes, just sometimes, it might feel a little bit safer just to stay silent, but that's really not freedom. You know, what happens is when you start speaking your truth, when you start, you know, actually stop wearing that mask when you're out in public with a narcissist, when you start letting people know what you're going through, believe it or not, you're actually not just helping yourself to heal, but you're giving someone else the opportunity to begin to heal. This is definitely spiritual warfare. There are so many of these demons running around here, making people's lives, you know, chaotic, and they bring stress into people's lives. These are truly demons. You know, and sometimes, just sometimes, we feel a little bit safer staying silent. But after the smear campaign, sometimes we really wish that we would have spoke up sooner. You know, this is really where healing begins, when you speak your truth. When I wrote No More Chains, when I started to understand what I was going through, when I started to see the patterns in the trends, I just felt I had no other choice but to speak my truth. You know, come to find out, they were just starting their smear campaign. Just starting it. So I got ahead of the curve before it got crazy. You know, now they're trying to figure out, you know, oh my goodness, you know, how much does he have? How much can he expose me? How much can he destroy my mask? You know, and it's not done for revenge. It's done for me to heal. See, once you start to tell your truth, the narcissist is going to feel betrayed, like you're the most disloyal person ever. Because what you're doing to them is you're exposing the person that they truly are. They don't care about the fact that they put you through pain. They don't care about the fact that they tricked you into believing that they loved you. They don't care about that. All they care about is their image. And I get it. A lot of times we sit back and we say to ourselves, oh, the people she's talking to or the people he's talking to, they're of no consequence to my life. Yeah, I get that. And I kind of felt that way. But at the same time, I am my authentic self. I don't feel comfortable with someone that is actually abusing me going around saying that they are the victim. I don't like that. It's a bald-faced lie. But then again, I went through a whole relationship that was based on lies. When you give someone else permission to speak, you give someone else permission to heal. This is where we are here for the greater good. I get it. You went through pain. You suffered through whatever amount of time that you were in that narcissistic relationship. You suffered during the discard. I get all of that. But the way that I look at it is, once I discovered exactly where I was at, exactly what was happening to me, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh no, I don't want anybody to have to experience this. Because the narcissists, they stay in the shadows. They go after good people. They go after loyal people. They go after people that in their heart they want to love. At first, I was so angry. I said, I gave up 7 years, probably the best 7 years of my life, to this person that had no intention whatsoever of being there for me, of creating a union of happiness and joy. I remember the last time that I spoke to them, they were just putting on a whole issue in public, to the point that there was a person that was in the lobby that after they drove off, they walked over to me and they said, "Are you all right?" It was probably one of the most embarrassing days of my life, but I then understood what was happening. This person needed a reaction. They were just trying to trigger me. What made it so horrible was the last thing that they said to me kind of brought everything together. There was no more doubt in my head. There was nothing that could make me ever think again that this person could have the potential to be that person that I met during the fog stage. That just disappeared. It just turned into dust when that person turned around to me and said, "I don't know how you're going to speak to your kids because I'm not answering your calls." And I just ignored them. I refused to be triggered. And they said, "See, just the way you're not talking to me, because they just wanted a reaction, that's the way that I'm going to make sure that you don't speak to your children again." I just looked at the person, put my headphones back in, and in my mind, I said to myself, how could our higher power, how could the universe put a person on this planet this evil? Because they know that's what I live for, my children. I'm not living for me. I'm living for them. I'm trying to make the world a better place for them. And then I knew. I was like, I need to speak out about this. It's not about revenge. It's not about putting somebody on blast. It's the truth. Just like they can go out there and lie about you and try to smear your name and destroy your reputation, why shouldn't you be allowed to tell the truth? Why shouldn't you be allowed to get ahead of the curve before your life becomes just completely destroyed? Yeah, they're going to say that you betrayed me. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I told the truth. I told my truth. I told what I experienced. I told what I went through. And again, not to get revenge on you, but to help others heal. To help others understand that by telling their truth, they give someone else permission to heal. I get messages from people saying that they're finally setting themselves free. They're finally breaking chains. And I say to myself, and not in a conceited way, I was like, was I able to help with that? Was I able to help someone else get free from narcissistic abuse? Because when you don't tell your truth, they get to play victim. You just go sit in family court. I guarantee there's going to be one case where your discernment is going to tell you this person is a narcissist. And they're literally sitting in the chair, playing victim, acting like it's all the other person's fault. When in all reality, they're the ones creating the chaos. Now, I'm not a judge and I can't decide that. But I guarantee you it's happening. I guarantee you that right now, someone is trying to dismantle someone's whole life with a bunch of lies. Why wouldn't you feel it important to tell the truth? To let others know that they're not alone. That's what we try to do here at Church of Real Talk. That's why no more changes. The audiobook is free. I'll put the link in the details or something. Just listen to it. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And what could you possibly lose? Dealing with more pain, dealing with more heartache, or finally gaining peace. I kind of vote for peace. I kind of like that. Peace of mind, going back to being happy, going back to being that great person that you were even the day before you met them. See, that's what's important. And that's why I do what I do via Church of Real Talk. The main reason, love you guys. Have a great day. And remember, the truth will set you free.
I don't know if you're ready to see what I want to show you.